there, and welcome to a brief tutorial on the semicircle exercise on the reformer. This is one of my new favorites, I have to say. I've always liked it, but the more proficient that I become, the more delicious it feels, and the more effective I feel it is. I look forward to it so much more than previously. At first, when you learn the semicircle, it's a challenge to not really use the legs and overuse the legs to push the carriage in and out and to hold yourself in the exercise. We'll get to that in just a moment. But let's talk about first just the setup of the apparatus. So 2 springs are on the outside to make room for your hips that are going to get down onto the springs. The foot bar is down. There's also a version done with the foot bar up. Today we're just going to talk about the one with the foot bar down. And the headpiece is up for sort of ceremonial reasons. Generally, if the headpiece does not need to be down, it's generally up. And that was because at a certain point in time, if the carriage pushed out all the way, or if the student was not in control, the headpiece could bang against the back of the reformer and break. So if it was in this down position. So that's why it has been put up. Now that actually can't happen, especially if you have a longer reformer, but in the training programs, the headpiece is still considered to be up for this exercise. And it's kind of nice to pull yourself back onto it, and you're like, for a moment, before you leap off to do something else, your head is nice and supported. So I just wanted to mention that. This comes after the short box, the short spine, and then semicircle. So let's talk about what's happening in the exercise. This exercise has a very unique starting point, or starting position, I should say, and you're trying to lift yourself up and move yourself down the carriage without really pushing the carriage out. And that might not be possible right away for some people, but that is your goal. Your heels should stay as lifted as they possibly can, and you really will learn to make the most of where your hands are touching and where your feet are touching, because that's kind of all you've got. So, the exercise will start down. Lift your heels as much as you can and push into your hands to get the ribs to go down first. The tailbone is reaching upward, and you're going to articulate yourself into the springs. Imagine that you can't move the reformer carriage. It will move a little bit, but try not to. Once you get in position, you're going to press out. Your heels will not touch the frame. You're going to push into your feet and curl your hips up, and then come back in. Let's do it again in this direction. So heels up, ribs down. Roll yourself in, fold yourself into that spot. Press out, push into your feet and curl up, and then come in. Let's reverse. Heels stay up, ribs stay down, tailbone points to the ceiling. Push into your feet, come back up. One more. Heels up, ribs down. And then you'll pull yourself back onto the carriage. See, and doesn't that headpiece feel good? So I've learned this exercise many, many different ways with many sort of different helpers and considerations. So let's talk about some options. If you wear socks in your studio, it's nice to have pads on the foot bar. I find that you can put both pads like this, and you've got one for each foot. I work barefoot, so I tend not to use pads. But if your feet feel like they're slippery or they don't feel safe, you really should use some pads. And I find that when you're new to the exercise, it takes a while for your feet to be able to stay in one spot as your body moves through the exercise. You might feel like you have to adjust them. Go ahead and adjust them as much as you need to, make them feel secure. Eventually, they'll find a spot to be in for the entire exercise and you won't have to move them. So I love how that happens. So the other thing is, the exercise is really about articulation. So in general, you don't want to push the carriage out so far that your body is straight, because then you really don't have to articulate. Versus When you're closer in, your body must articulate to move up and down in the confines of the reformer. So that was, don't push out too far. And the other thing that's happening in the exercise is that you're getting a thigh stretch. So you're trying to bring the carriage in as much as you can each time. This is you bringing the carriage in. So, and just like the thigh stretch that's on the mat, where you're vertical, you can really use that verticality to consider a lengthening way to stretch your thighs versus a hips up, hips down kind of way to stretch your thighs. So the difference of that is, wait, where am I? Okay, so the difference of that is you're going down, and then when you curl yourself up, you don't want to feel like you're just pushing your hips in the air. You want to really make this about finding length in your back and then pulling your stomach in and stretching this way and this way in the exercise. And if you do that, you'll even feel how the carriage will maybe come in a little bit more and close a little bit more than it did previously. Okay, so you need articulation, you need length to get your thigh stretch. And really what's helping you build strength in this exercise is that you must hold the carriage in space as you either go up to down or down to up. So there is a way to do it where there's a block that's placed in the tracks and you push out and you hold the carriage against the block. But it's really doing your work for you. You should be holding the carriage still, and you should be using your seat and your stomach to do it. Same thing with the heels never touching the frame. If the heels touch the frame, it kind of makes your butt not have to work as much. And you really need your seat because you're trying to elongate your back, and you need the muscles of the seat to pull in one direction away from the ribs that will help that happen. So there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Oh, so I know when I started doing this exercise, I really thought it was a back bend. So I would arch my back as much as possible and try to put my hips through the springs and onto the floor. And people told me to do that. People said, try to put your hips on the floor. And I tried. And I thought, oh, this is for tall people. So, but I mean, when I got down there, I really did like let it all hang out and just arch my back. And it's really not about that, despite its position that gives us that impression. If you think of the exercise that precedes it, which is short spinal massage, in short spinal massage, you're holding your seat in the air, and that's elongating your back as you slowly lower your back to the carriage. And that's a very nice position to do that in. It's much more straightforward. This exercise, you're really trying to do the exact same thing. It's just a very disadvantageous position to try to do it in. I'll explain. So, let's say you're back at the starting position. So you're gonna lift your heels and lengthen, use your seat to kind of pull your hips and your back down into the spring. Press out, and then curl yourself up and come in. So that's the first direction. You'll see the similarities between this exercise and short spinal massage if I do the second direction. So imagine that you're in your short spinal massage. Feels different. Heels up, tailbone up, ribs down. So the seat is still lengthening the back, and the back is still lengthening. It just doesn't get to be on the mat. And you're kind of lengthening it, and at this point, you don't want to let go of your seat and just, crash into your low back. You want to keep that going until you get all the way down with length versus crash. And then you'll scoop and come in. I'm going to do that again in real time. So push into the bar, tailbone up, heels up, ribs down. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Hang on to your seat more than you think you are able to. Just put it all the way down. And then come in. Oh. So, if you have questions, or if that just sounds crazy, please leave me a comment below. I'm happy to answer your questions. If there's a video you'd like to see kind of comparing and contrasting short spinal massage and semicircle, I'm happy to do that as well. Just let me know. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Please give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you later. Thank you. Bye. Here we go. Roll like a ball. Stand up and jump. roll like a ball. Stand up and jump, roll like a ball. One more time, stand up and jump, and roll like a ball, come to the balance. Now we're gonna go to the stomach massage series from the Reformer. So I'm gonna move just a little bit forward on the mat.